high in the mountains of Bolivia, nearly 13,000 feet above the sea. There's a place that shouldn't exist. The air here is thin. The wind never stops. Nothing grows but low, stubborn grass. And scattered across this barren plateau lie massive blocks of stone, cut with angles so sharp, so perfect, that modern machines struggle to match them. This is Puma Punku, and by the end of this video, you may question everything you were taught about the ancient world. Puma Punku is part of a larger site called Tiwanaku. It sits on a cold, windswept plateau in the Andes, far from any forest, far from any city, far from anything that could have supported an army of builders. Today, it looks like a field of shattered ruins, as if a giant hand reached down and swept the whole structure apart. But look closer, and the stones tell a different story. The most famous of them are called the H-blocks. Dozens of them, each carved into the exact same shape. Identical notches, identical grooves, identical angles, as if they were stamped from a mold or cut by a machine. But there were no machines here. At least, none that history admits to. And here is what truly baffles engineers. Those H-blocks are so consistent that if you took one and placed it beside another, they would fit together perfectly. Interchangeable, modular, like ancient building blocks, designed to lock into a larger structure. Some researchers believe Puma Punku wasn't carved piece by piece at all, but built from a kit, prefabricated parts, cut to a single master template, thousands of years before the idea of mass production was ever born. Run your hand along the edges, and they are flat, perfectly flat. The inside corners meet at crisp, right angles, with no rounding, no chatter marks, no sign of a chisel slipping. And then there are the surfaces. Some of these stones have channels cut into them, straight as a ruler, with tiny drilled holes spaced evenly along the line. Each hole the same depth, each the same width, repeated again and again. Now here's the part that stops archaeologists cold. The stone itself. Much of Puma Punku was built from andesite, a volcanic rock nearly as hard as steel. You cannot scratch it with a knife. You cannot shape it with soft copper. To cut andesite cleanly, you need tools harder than the stone itself. And there's another problem, a bigger one. Literally, some of these blocks are enormous. The largest weighs over 100 tons. That's heavier than a fully loaded passenger jet. And yet, the quarry where this stone came from lies miles away, across broken ground, uphill, at an altitude where every breath is a struggle. So ask yourself, how do you move a 100-ton block across miles of mountain terrain with no wheels, no draft animal strong enough, and no iron tools? How do you lift it, place it, and set it with such precision that the joints are tighter than anything we build today? So how did a culture with no iron, no steel, and, according to mainstream history, no written language, carve some of the hardest rock on Earth into shapes a modern factory would be proud of, and then move mountains to build with them? That is the mystery of Puma Punku, and it only gets stranger from here. To understand why these stones are so puzzling, you have to understand the tools. Mainstream archaeology tells us the builders used simple stone hammers. Harder rocks, pounded against softer ones, slowly grinding each block into shape. Patience, not technology. And for many ancient sites, that explanation works. But at Puma Punku, something doesn't add up. Stone hammers create rough, uneven surfaces. They leave marks. They round the corners. Yet these blocks show flat planes, sharp inner angles, and drill holes so uniform. They look mechanical. How do you pound a perfectly straight groove into rock as hard as steel? By hand. And it goes deeper. When engineers measured these surfaces, they found something unsettling. The flat faces are leveled to within a fraction of a millimeter. The angles repeat with almost no error. That is not the signature of a hammer in a steady hand. That is the signature of a template, of a standard, of a system. There's another mystery hiding in plain sight. The evidence that should be here isn't. When ancient people carved stone, they left things behind. Broken tools, half-finished blocks, piles of chips and dust, the fingerprints of the work. But at Puma Punku, much of that trail is strangely thin. The stones almost appear, as if they arrived already finished. Then comes the second great debate: the age. Mainstream scientists date Tiwanaku to roughly 1,500 years ago. But some researchers point to erosion patterns, to layers of sediment, and to ancient astronomical alignments, and argue the site could be far older. Some claim many thousands of years older. If they are right, it would rewrite the timeline of human history. It would mean an advanced culture existed, long before history says civilization even began. A people who understood geometry, engineering, and stone on a level we struggle to explain. So what really happened here? One theory says a lost civilization, with knowledge we've forgotten, built Puma Punku, then vanished in some ancient catastrophe. Their skills, their tools, their story, wiped away, leaving only the stones behind. Another theory points to a great flood, a disaster remembered in the local legends of the Andes, a wall of water that swept across the plateau, scattering the blocks like toys, and drowning whatever civilization once stood here. And of course, there are those who look to the stars, who believe the precision of Puma Punku, the impossible cuts, the perfect angles, could only have come from knowledge that was given, not discovered. The truth is, we don't know. The builders left no manuals, no blueprints, no names, only the stones. And the stones refused to give up their secret. Maybe it was simple tools and endless patience. Maybe generations of workers gave their entire lives to this place. Or maybe, just maybe, we're looking at the fingerprints of a forgotten age. A chapter of human history that was erased and never written back in. What do you think built Puma Punku? Was it patience? Or was it something we've lost? Tell me in the comments. And if you want the untold stories history left behind, subscribe to The Forgotten Past. Because some secrets were never meant to stay buried.